قال المؤلف رحمه الله, the author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy upon him, said, ثم الكلام في معرفة حد المشابهة. Next there is the discussion about being familiar with the definition of mushabaha, comparison. قالت الأشعرية, the Ash'ari said, إن المتشابهين والمثلين هما غيران يسد كل واحد منهما مسد صاحبه. Indeed, the two comparable ones and the two like things, or two alike things, they are two different things, each of which could fill the space of the other, or each of which could replace the other, take the place of the other, or stand for the other. That's very, very, very good. This sentence is the one that you need when you deal with some atheists or philosophers who insist that agreement and expression is likeness. It is likening. So the Wahhabis, they say that if they are likening Allah to the creations, then we are likening Allah to the creations, because they use some words for Allah literally, and we accused them of likening Allah to the creations. They say you also use words for Allah Ta'ala literally, therefore you should also be a likener, like you say that Allah knows and He sees and He hears, etc. So our answer to them is that this is not likening Allah to the creations. This is ittifaqun fil lafz, or ittifaqun fil ta'bir. That's agreement in expression. It's not similarity. One helpful and strong point is that a single word can have more than one meaning. So simply because you're using the same word doesn't mean that it has the same meaning in both instances. Now, that might shut up a mushabbih, a Wahhabi, and it's correct, it's true, but then you have some philosophers and atheists that they will not suffice here. They will say, no, I insist you are definitely likening God to the creation, what you claim you're not doing, by virtue of your agreement and expression. He says, because you're saying ultimately that there's something called existence, and God has it and you have it. So you are likening, no matter how much you want to spin it. That's what he's going to say to us. So the answer to that is that we're not likening, because the meaning of being alike, according to us, is to have two different things, but each one of them could take the place of the other or stand for the other. And we don't agree that the existence of God is suitable for the existence of the creation, or that the existence of the creation is suitable for the existence of God. And likewise, any of his attributes, we don't agree that the sight of God is suitable for the sight of the creation, or that the sight of the creation is suitable for the sight of God. So since they can't stand for the other or take the place of the other, then they're not similar, even if we use the same words. وَدَلِيلُ تَقَيُّدِ الْحَدِّ بِالْمُغَايَرَةِ أَنَّ الشَّيْءَ لَا يُشْبِهُ نَفْسَهُ وَلَا يُمَاثِلَهُ فَدَلَّ أَنَّ ذَلِكَ بَيْنَ الْمُتَغَايِرَيْنِ. Okay. The evidence that there has to be, in the definition of mushabaha, comparison, two different things, mughayara, there has to be some difference. To establish comparison, there has to be something different from something else. The evidence for that is that a thing doesn't resemble itself. أَنَّ الشَّيْءَ لَا يُشْبِهُ نَفْسَهُ, is that a thing does not resemble itself. That's why you wouldn't say Allah is like himself. وَلَا يُمَاثِلُهُ, and a thing would not be compared to itself. There's no meaning to comparing a thing to itself. It's meaningless. فَدَلَّ أَنَّ ذَلِكَ بَيْنَ الْمُتَغَايِرَيْنِ, so that what proves? That proves that what we are discussing requires that there would be two different ones, two different subjects of the point. وَإِنَّمَا قَالُوا يَسُدُّ كُلُّ وَاحِدٍ مِّنْهُمَا مَسَدَّ صَاحِبِهِ. And they only said that each one of them could fill the space of the other, or could replace the other, or could stand for the other. لأن ما لا يسد مسد صاحبه لا يعد مثلا له. Because whatever cannot take the place of the other is not counted as a similar of it. وإن كانت بينهما موافقة في أوصاف كثيرة. Even if there was compliance between them in many qualities. كالسواد مع البياض. Like blackness with whiteness, فإنهما ليسا بمثلين, for they are not similar. وإن كان كل واحد منهما موجودا, although each one of them is existing. وعرضا, and each one of them is a fleeting quality. ولونا, and each one of them is a color, but they're different from each other. That's the point here. They could, something, just because there is something similar between two things, that doesn't make it invalid to say they're different. Two things have similar qualities, even in many ways. You can still say they're different from each other. You can still validly say they're not alike, if they have any way that they cannot take the place of each other. Okay, what I'm reading now isn't in the new copy. Let's see here. ثم الكلام في معرفة حد المشابهة. Next is the talk about knowing the definition of comparison. The Ash'ari said that al-mutashabihain, the two resembling things, والمثلين, and the two like things, هما غيران يسد كل واحد منهما مسد صاحبه. They are two different things, each of which could take the place of the other. أي فيما تقع فيه المماثلة, meaning they can take the place of each other concerning where they are similar. فإن أهل اللغة لا يمتنعون من القول بأن زيدا مثل عمرو في الفقه. For indeed, the people of the language do not refrain from saying that Zayd is like Amr in fiqh. إذا كان يساويه, if he was equal to him, or if he were equal to him. ويسد مسده, and if he could take his place. في ذلك الباب, in that subject. وإن كان بينهما مخالفة في وجوه كثيرة, even if there were between them difference in many ways. ونسبة اشتراط سد المثل محل مثله من كل الوجوه إلى الأشعري فيها نظر. And making it a condition that for something to be similar to something else, that it must be able to replace it in all ways, meaning it must be identical to it. In order to establish similarity between two things, they must be identical. Attributing that to al-Ash'ari is disputable. فَإِنَّهُ لَا تُحْفَظُ عَنْهُ عِبَارَةٌ صَرِيحَةٌ فِي ذَلِكَ. For indeed, it is not memorized about him or preserved about him any explicit expression about that. وَهُوَ أَمْرٌ قَدْ بَيَّنَهُ أَصْحَابُهُ وَغَيْرُهُمْ مِنْ عُلَمَاءِ التَّوْحِيدِ. And that is a matter that he clarified, and also his fellows or his colleagues or his companions have clarified. وَغَيْرُهُمْ مِنْ عُلَمَاءِ التَّوْحِيدِ, and others other than them amongst the scholars of monotheism. لا سيما والمتعارف في المخاطبات في اللغة يقضي بجواز إطلاق المثلية من غير اشتراط ذلك. Especially since what is familiar, recognizable in address, yani in speech, in the language, dictates the permissibility of using similarity, the word similarity or resemblance, without identicalness being a condition. كما جاء في الحديث, like what came in the hadith, الحنطة بالحنطة مثلا بمثل. Wheat for wheat must be sold like for like. أي في الكيل لا في جميع الأوصاف. And what that means is they must have a similar volume. They don't have to be similar in all ways. So it came in a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ compared wheat to wheat. He said that they must be like for like. But his statement does not dictate that they are identical in every way. Sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. وَدَلِيلُ تَقْيِيدِ الْحَدِّ بِالْمُغَايَرَةِ, and the evidence for restricting the definition to difference, yani the evidence that in order to establish comparison, there must be something different. Yani when the topic is comparison, when the subject is comparison, then the evidence that in order to address the subject of comparison, there must be something different from something else, is that أن الشيء لا يشبه نفسه, is that a thing doesn't resemble itself. ولا يماثله, and it's not compared to itself. فدل أن ذلك بين المتغايرين, so that proves that comparison would have to be between two different things. That's good. Allah enabled us to benefit by reading the old copy and the new copy. So that's very clear. Alhamdulillah.